Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to make a faux fur pom-pom to go on top of your beanie. This one's a little bit smushed because it was packaged away for a little bit, but when they get smushed you can take a fine-tooth comb and comb them out, or you can hit them with a blow dryer, or sometimes even just shaking them will make them get their shape back. So first things first, you're going to need some faux fur. I got this fur at Joann's Fabrics. It's you need a nice long fur. This one is one of my favorites. It's called Silver Fox, I believe, and you can get it at Joann's. I also get it faux fur at Hobby Lobby, and there's a few other websites online that I haven't purchased from myself, but I know other people do. So first off, you're also going to need some good scissors, like fabric scissors, or like a razor or something to cut the fabric. You are going to need some sort of cotton thread or some sort of thread. I like to use this weight 1 cotton thread. You're going to need a sharp darning needle. This one's pretty sharp. And then you're also going to need some polyfill. So to get started, I like to make my poms for my adult beanies 5 or 6 inches. I'm just going to do 5 inches for this fur because I feel like it's fluffy enough that 5 inches is a good size. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this, measure 5 inches. I just like to use a Sharpie and mark on the back. So there's 5 inches there. I'm going to measure across 5 inches. Come up here, 5 inches. Now we're going to cut our fur. And to cut the fur, I like to start on this side. And so you want to make sure you don't chop the fur when you're cutting it. Like the lady at the store chopped the fur when she first cut it. So that's what it's going to look like if you chop the fur, but you don't want to do that. So you want to just make sure you're cutting the backing. So what I like to do is I like to take my scissors and I just kind of run my scissors like through the fur, almost like you're parting the fur, like you'd part hair. And then I just cut, and I just do small cuts and try to cut the backing only, not the fur. Alright, now we're going to make our next cut. And so the fur's going this way, so we're going to be extra careful on this one. You're going to run those scissors along the back of the fabric. Just do little cuts at a time. Some people like to just cut the backing with a razor or like a box cutter or something, and that works well too, but I don't have any right now, so I'm just using scissors. Alright. So now I have my square. I like to go ahead and just do this on the edges and get like any extra fur. Sometimes there's just a little bit of loose fur, and so I like to go around and just kind of pull that all off. This one didn't have too much, so that means we did a good job of not cutting our fur too much. Now we're going to take our sharp yarn needle and our thread and cut a good piece off. I probably go, I don't know, 18 inches, 2 feet. I'm not 100% sure, but you want a decently long piece, but not too long. It doesn't need to be too terribly long. But I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle like this, and then I'm going to start in one corner, and I'm going to stick my needle in like this. So stick it through the fur. Again, try not to catch too much of the fur, and more of just like the back fabric. leave a decently long tail. Doesn't have to be too long, about that's good. And then I like to come across to the other corner and sew it in like this. That way when you tighten it up, it will pull your corners in a little bit more. Now we're just going to do what I believe is called a running stitch all the way around the square. If that's not the technical term, don't come for me. I'm not an expert on types of sewing stitches. But what we're going to do is we're just going to stick it in. Just do a stitch like this. Just make it fairly decent sized stitches. They don't have to be huge, they don't have to be too small. And then just keep going. And again, try not to go over the fur too much. Like, you don't want to be able to see your stitches over the fur. So just stick it through the fabric and try to stay under the fur. Come to the corner. I try to get decently close to the corner. And when you're doing this, you want to leave a little bit of edge of fabric. You don't want to be too close to the edge. Otherwise, you could just rip your stitches out. So come to the corner. And then start down the next side. If you accidentally get your fur like that and it's pulling the fur in, just gently pull the fur out of the stitch. And then we're going to keep going. Now we're going to come up to this corner over here. We're just going to go over that and start down the next side. So here's the one, I'm just going to skip over it, start down the next side. Alright, and we're going to come up to our corner. Just going to finish that right there. And then now you can kind of start pulling the sides. This one's going to pull this like that. Pull this so it makes like a little bowl almost. You're going to take some polyfill. Take some polyfill, stuff it in there. You want it to be stuffed but not too stuffed. Like, you don't want it to be too heavy, so you don't want to overstuff. But you want it to hold like the circular palm spherical shape. So you kind of have to play with it to see how much is the right stuff. You see how it's still kind of flat. We're going to stuff it a little bit more so that it turns into a sphere more. But you don't want it to be too heavy because these are going on top of your hat. You don't want super heavy palm on top of your hat. Alright, so now that I've got that in there, make sure you stuff it under this cross beam or this cross thread too, because you don't want to, when you tighten it, that's going to pull up, so you don't want to stuff it over that. So now we're just going to pull gently, and do be careful whenever you're tightening it, because if you pull too hard, you could break your thread, and then you have to start all over, and that just is frustrating. So now I'm going to go ahead, I've got it mostly closed, I'm going to go ahead and tie the knot because that will help me close it up a little bit more. Again, pull gently so you don't break your thread. And then that closes it mostly. Tie another knot to secure that. Now we still have a little bit of open gaps, so we're going to rethread our needle with one tail. And then I'm going to come, so these were the two corners that we pulled closed. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stick my needle through this other corner. And if you pull the fur down like this, it can be kind of easier to see. So I'm going to stick my needle through the other corner. Make sure you get it through the fabric. Alright, I'm going to put my needle on my other tail. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. right across from the one you just did. Now we're going to take it, and this one is always a little bit harder to tighten, so I'm going to tie on regular knot, but then I'm going to wrap the tail around one more time and pull it tight. This just keeps your knot in place and keeps it from sliding back out. So pull gently again, don't pull too hard because you don't want to break your thread again. And then tie another knot to make sure it's secure. And then you have your pom. And you can go ahead and put it on your beanie. And when I put it on my beanie, I like to sew it through once and then come back and stick my needle back through the pom and sew it on twice so it's sewn on like a crisscross. But yeah, there you go. There you have it. You have your beautiful fluffy pom, and you can add it to your beanies now. Thanks for watching. If you like this, go ahead and hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and let me know if you want to see anything else in the comments below.